We can go up here to the shop. No, hey Dusty, I didn't know you were here today.
How long have you been here?
3 hours.
Yeah. Today we're going to show you how to change the pulley on a Torqstorm with the Griptec hub and pulley combo, which we sell, facebook.com/blazing high performance messages. And we get you any size blower ring, more or less, coming 2.6. What's the small one?
I think 265 is the smallest it'll go before it won't fit.
So 265 all the way up to whatever 3.1 if you want to do just something that has a little more grip than the stock one. So a lot of people ask us like, how hard is it? It's not that bad. You just got to make sure you don't pry on the pulley with a pry bar to get it off. Use a puller and don't hammer it on. You got to protect the shaft and seal. So the easiest way is just to kind of knock the bolt off with an impact. All right. We leave the belt on there and thread the bolt back in just a few threads. Now you can take the belt off. Leaving the belt on just gives you a little bit of resistance for your. If you don't have an impact, you can use a socket, and you might have to smack the socket, ratchet with a hammer or whatever, just to break it loose. So, sorry about that. Now that we have the bolt and washer off, I'll put the bolt back just to give you a surface to press against. 3-jaw puller, you can use a 2-jaw puller, just anything that'll get back behind the pulley. Like so.
While he's doing this, any pulley change voids your Torqstorm warranty. So just keep that in mind. Not that that seems to be a big deal.
Yeah.
I've actually had one sent back and they're actually looking into the effects of one. But the thing is, it all depends on your RPM. So if you're going to turn 68, 7,000, a 2.9 is about all you want. If you turn around 65 to 66, you might could actually go down to a 2.8 because it's not going to spin the blower as fast. The blower spins, of course, faster the faster you turn the motor. So the pulley size needs to be determined when you determine your max RPM the engine's going to turn. And I think you got it off now. That was easy.
Yeah, and this one, some of them are tougher than this, depending on how long they've been on. The customer that we're doing this car for replaced this, put this 3.1 on himself. So a lot of times you'll get some corrosion on the shaft. It'll make it harder to come off. That was an easy pull, so which is not what you really want when you're doing a video. It needs to be a little difficult because they're not all this easy. That's why you do need a puller. The Torqstorm, which we'll take this off in a minute, but the Torqstorm hub will slide on there with nothing once the keys are in. There's 2 keyways in these pulleys. They're double keyed, so make sure you don't drop those, lose those when you're swapping that out. Now, there's a spacer.
Yeah, that's what I was just looking at.
On the back side of these, and what you'll notice is, let me get the pulley in. The spacer spaces the back side of the pulley out. The Torqstorm hub has that offset built into it, so you don't need this spacer.
Gotcha.
It could vary on model, but all the ones we've seen, the G8s, the Camaros, you can see they don't need the spacer. If you put the spacer down and put the pulley on there, and then put the Torqstorm on there,
Yep.
you can see they're pretty much the same.
They're exactly, yeah, that's really good.
If you try to use the spacer on the back of the Torqstorm, you're gonna kick belts.
Yep.
So they go ahead and machine the offset into the hub. That's what makes it, it's really a nice bolt-on piece. So when you get it, you'll have 2 bolts in the Griptec. Take those out, they'll be hand tight. And you want to put the hub or the hub itself on without the ring on there. So keyways, you can turn your blower shaft however you'd like to make it easier, and there's a couple ways to do it, right? You can put the pulley on there first, or you can put the keyway in and kind of work it in that way. When we first developed these, we worked with Griptec to make the direct swap. The keyway depth was not correct, and there was only one keyway. So we had to machine the keys down to make them work initially. So if you happen to have a really older version, much older version, and you ran into some difficulties like that, that could be why. But now we've got them where they're pretty much a direct fit.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm working I got the
Oh, wow.
keyways in the slots, ×2 there. I'm gonna push that one on the left end just a little bit more
Nice.
by hand.
Yeah, so these hubs are designed specifically for Torqstorms. The outside pulleys, these rings are same as you can use on a Pro Charger setup.
Correct. And so a lot of people come to us and say, I read that it's just a Pro Charger setup, but it's not. The hub is completely different.
Yep.
Like I said, we've worked with Griptec, with ZPE Industries to design a direct swap, direct fit Torqstorm hub.
Yeah, we sent a few back and correlated what we found, gave them measurements for the keys and all. Now they fit great. As you can see, he just did it by hand and barely tapped it in with a screwdriver. So,
Yeah,
no really specific tools needed or specialty tools at all.
Yep. Again, I know it came off really easily. If it doesn't, take some Scotch-Brite. Once you get it off with your puller, knock the corrosion off the blower shaft so that this will slide right on. You should not need to drive this on. Definitely don't hit it. Like I said, take care of your blower shaft. This is gonna be your bolt. Same one that comes off.
Okay.
We'll put a little bit of blue Loctite on the threads here.
Blue Loctite in a red container, but it does have a blue sticker.
Stripe on it.
Another thing to note, just while he's doing it, with sizing, that's a question we get a lot. About every 1/10 of an inch seems to be about approximately a pound of boost if your intercooler is flowing and everything else working in relationship correctly. A very generic is a pound of boost per, so a 3.1 to 2.9 would get you about 2 pounds.
So I put my tool on my Milwaukee 3/8 on 2, which is 40, 50 foot-pounds. You don't kill it. It's difficult to torque because it's difficult to hold. If you're somebody that, really wants to nail a torque number, about 40 foot-pounds, you can hold it different ways. That method's worked for us. We're not sitting here killing it. Like, I know it's ugga-duggas, it's a little sloppy, but it works. So here's your hub, and then the two, you want to put blue Loctite, which the instructions with the Griptec will tell you this, but blue Loctite on these threads, and these will be 6 to 7 foot-pounds,
Yep.
and we will torque those.
And it even looks really good too on there. It's a really nice looking pulley and hub
It
setup.
really is. Find your hole, get one lined up, one started. Run them in by hand. We won't bore you with all these. We'll cut to the end because it's the same.
Yep, we'll pick right back
Nothing
up.
worse than an instructional video that you have to watch for 20 minutes to figure out how to do something. Like, I don't care. Like,
Yeah, no, I get it. Yep. So we're gonna just torque these down to 6 to 7 foot-pounds, and we'll be right back.
so we put the belt back on so that it'll kind of support the pulley while we torque these ring bolts. 7 foot-pounds, blue Loctite. And that's the last one. So that's done. That's as easy as it is. The belt lengths, depending on your bracket design, is what we found. Depends on can you use the same belt, and depending on the ring size you go with. 2.8, 2.9. Typically, you can go with a stock belt on most brackets. On this setup with the Camaros, the belt rides close to the tensioner pulley. If your belt's too long, there's one thing you should mention is there's 2 to 3, depending on your bracket, holes behind this tensioner. You can loosen the tensioner and you can clock the tensioner in different positions based on your belt length. And what that's made for is, do you have the 3.2 or 3.1? The basic 2 options that they send, depends on what hole that you use. However, if you, even on the 3.1 or with our rings, if your belt's too long, these 2 belts will ride too close to one another. And as you accelerate and this belt gets torqued with RPM, this takes up the slack and moves closer, and you don't want these belts to touch. So you may have to clock the tensioner up and run a shorter belt. If you don't clock the tensioner up and run a shorter belt, you'll bottom the tensioner out at the top. You don't want to do that. You want the tensioner to kind of ride in the middle of its travel and be far away from the lower belt. So that's some trial and error. This particular one with Camaro is a 61 inch.
And we ran it on the 325 setting, but it's a shorter belt, and
Yeah.
then the spacing looks really good. I think that's going to be great.
Pretty good. And this belt also worked well with the 3.1 that was on it. The belt that he had was a 62 inch. I don't know what comes with this kit. I can't tell you right off the bat, but I don't know what comes with the factory if it's a 62. But if it was still too close, even on the
Yeah,
bottom
3.1.
setting,
Yep.
3.1 setting. So,
And so yeah, we ended up with a 2.9 60-inch belt,
61.
61-inch belt, and on the 3.25 setting. So it just depends. Usually, like I said, you can squeeze away with the stock belt, but not always. That's some trial and error. But we've had good luck finding these belts. They're not an uncommon size.
Yeah, just kind of use your judgment. You know, if that's how your bracket makes that tensioner ride with that lower part of that belt, make sure you got some room there.
Yeah, I
That's
think
good room.
I think that's about the exact amount of room that I would like to see, because, like you said, it's going to move in
Yep.
probably a quarter inch.
If it's close to start with, it's gonna touch.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that's about it. I hope that helps somebody out. Probably just send this to everybody that before we get you a pulley order in, so that you'll know sort of what to do and what it entails. But overall, it's a even filming, it's a 20-minute job.
Yeah,
So
it's not
if we were
bad.
just going to whip it out, it's a 10, 15-minute job. So it's
Make
not
sure
bad.
you use the right tools. Again, no prying, no beating.
Yeah, that's the main two things.
Use the tools.
Thanks, guys.